I've been in a little bit of a holding pattern the last couple of days. We've been getting some on and off rain showers. I feel like all of the weeds around here are growing before my eyes. I really need to take care of them, but there's a few other things I'd rather do instead. First, I'm going to check and see how Ziggy, Scarlet, and Prim are doing, and then I'm going to turn all of the boys out in the big pasture.
Uh-oh. Hey, Prim. Hey, girl.
Every day, Prim gets a little bit more settled, and these three are getting along perfectly.
Whoa. Son of a gun.
For the last couple of weeks, I've been scheming on putting all of the boys out together. This should give me a bit more free time, and it'll be nice if I can have one large group of geldings that can go out with each other. Since I am basically going to be combining two small herds today, I want them to have as much space as possible. Some of these horses do already know each other, but I do believe that Whiplash and Studman have never met before. Whiplash was not gelded until he was 17 years old, and Studman was 6. Both of these boys did retain a bunch of their stud-like qualities, so they both always think they need to be in charge. Currently, Whiplash and Little Gus are best friends, Pete and Stewie are best friends, and then Studman and Goose are also best friends. I was going to turn Big Gus out here, but with his PSSM, he does not need to be galloping around with these boys. He has also been a really good friend for Frisco while he's transitioning away from Prim, so he's going to get to stay in the barn, and then Frisco and Big Gus can go out on some of the tinier pastures. While the pasture space that these boys will have is around 10 acres altogether, the dry lot is really not big enough for them to stay in during the day. So I will have to gather up Studman and Goose every morning and either put them in the barn or put them in a separate dry lot just so the boys aren't fighting with each other. It's not so much about the space as it is their ability to share the single run-in shed that I have. Bringing these two boys in for the day will allow me to continue to feed them the low starch grass hay. The other boys are getting straight alfalfa during the day, and these two definitely don't need the extra calories.
You're moving at a snail's pace, buddy.
I'm really interested to see how this all shakes out. I'm wondering if Whiplash might try and steal Goose back. Earlier in the year, they were all out together, and for some reason they decided they did not want Goose to be part of their herd. Studman does like to be in charge, so if anything, he'll have Goose to look after, even if Whiplash does not allow him to move up in the ranks. It does look like we have a little bit of a storm on the horizon, but I don't think it'll amount to much, so I'm still going to turn both of these boys out and see what happens. Right off the bat, Studman went to making sure that everybody knew that he was wanting to be in charge. As everybody got reacquainted, it did seem like Whiplash was going to end up on top. After a few minutes, it seemed like they had pretty much all the details hammered out. Every once in a while, Studman would go back in and check to see if Whiplash would allow him to move up, but Whiplash ended up chasing these two away a few times just to let him know that he was in charge.
Boys, slow down. Stewie, Pete. Boys, slow down.
Because these boys are all very out of shape, they ran around for a bit and then came back into the dry lot for a break. The girls were very interested in all of the prancing around that was going on, but thankfully Prim was able to keep her cool. It was pretty interesting watching each pair of horses navigate this new little herd. Whiplash and little Gus stayed pretty close together. Both Stewie and Pete were interested in making friends with Goose and Studman. It seemed like all Ziggy was concerned about was his dinner, and the girls continued to watch these boys work out the kinks while they were in the dry lot. Out of all of these horses, I think Goose is probably in the worst condition right now. His diet has been going well, but he is going to need some more exercise before he gets back to a normal weight. He is definitely the most reserved as well, so when the boys were trotting around getting all excited, he pretty much just moseyed around and stuck close to Studman. There's a pretty big age range in this group of horses. Whiplash, who is the oldest, is 21 years old this year. And then the youngest is Stewie, and he is 6. I've really been wanting to put all of these boys out together for quite some time, but I did have to wait for the grass to get a little bit crispier. With Studman having some trouble with his feet, I wanted that to be all resolved as well. I did put a pair of his fancy composite shoes on yesterday, so even if he runs around a ton, he should still be protected. As usual, Stewie was the most curious about making friends with Studman and Goose. He's a pretty easygoing guy, and I think he is now given up on ever wanting to be in charge of their little herd. After they had a break in the dry lot, they went back out into the pasture and started grazing. It was kind of wild. A bunch of moisture just kind of flew in, and I kept wiping my lens because I thought it was fogging up. But the air just seemed to be really heavy, and I do think it's going to rain pretty soon. With all of the boys distracted out on the pasture, I am going to clean out their run-in shed. I'm also going to drag the dry lot. I was almost finished with the run-in shed when it started to finally rain. We've been getting these crazy, super intense rainstorms that don't last very long. They had called for some hail here, but it doesn't look like we're going to get it this time. With the boys exposed out in the pasture and some pretty heavy drops coming down, I was a little bit surprised they didn't run in to take cover. They're pretty content out on the pasture, and I'm guessing they know somehow that this storm is going to be really short. This summer I've been trying to build up the footing in here a little bit more. After scraping it this spring, I realized I did take off maybe a little bit too much. The ground is really hard, and dispersing this manure across this whole area a little bit more and dragging it around should make it a bit softer for the horses. To make sure all of the manure is chopped up into tiny pieces and dispersed evenly so it doesn't attract flies, I do use a piece of hog panel. I'm pretty sure I paid less than $20 for it, and it is perfect at doing exactly what I need it to. With the poop dispersed, it'll work to prevent the flies from getting out of hand and also the weeds. It does look like I'm going to have to wait out this storm a little bit longer, and then I should be able to continue on with my chores for the evening. It's kind of crazy how quickly it can go from bright and sunshiny out to a complete deluge. This time of year, the storms come and go rather quickly. I do think the horses enjoy it because it gives them an opportunity to get a little bit cooled off and then roll around in the dirt. Scarlet is such a funny horse. She has done this since she was only a few months old. She must be trying to coat her whole body with a light dusting of mud. She'll stay sitting up like a dog and then wriggle around and scratch her belly. If I noticed any of the other horses doing this, it would be a huge red flag for colic, but Scarlet does this every single time it rains. As soon as I get to thinking that she might be in distress, she finally pops up and then goes about her business. Sometimes she even itches herself for so long that she needs to lay down and take a little bit of a break before she gets up. Ziggy used to get really freaked out by this, but I think he's finally used to it. A few of you guys have asked me when I'm gonna actually start riding Scarlet, and every so often she still has a pretty significant growth spurt. I would really love her to be done with the majority of her growing before I get into any more of the undersaddle stuff with her. It does seem like she's finally starting to slow down though, which is great news because I really don't want her to get any bigger. She has really matured mentally, so I think she could handle the training in that aspect, but I don't want to do anything to impede her future soundness as a riding horse.
Where's Zig? What'd you do to Zig?
Every once in a while, these two girls will still get into a little spat, but for the most part, I think they have learned to tolerate each other. Prim is definitely in charge now, so she pushes around both Scarlet and Ziggy, but she's been pretty fair and she has not been nearly as aggressive as she has been in the past.
Oh, Ziggo!
In typical Ziggy fashion, he has shellacked another layer of mud on top of his pre-existing coat. Ziggy is a pretty sensitive horse, and I think the bugs may bother him a bit more than these girls. I think his continued filth is actually a very smart way to control his sensitivity to the bugs. With Prim now out of the round pen, I am finally going to be able to get in there and start on some liberty training with the other horses. I think I'm going to give Prim another week maybe off and then get back into some training with her as well. Sometimes I feel like I'm not getting very much done, but I think compared to this spring, I have accomplished quite a lot already.
Zig!
Especially now that all of the horses have new friends. It's particularly nice to see all of these boys out together. It may seem like small potatoes, but this group of horses represents the culmination of years and years of hard work. to see them galloping through the field together, happy and healthy, definitely put a smile on my face. It's probably going to take these boys a week or two to really settle in and accept Studman and Goose back into their little herd. But this seems to be a great first day. While it was absolutely necessary for these boys to come off the grass earlier in the season, now that it isn't so lush, I'm glad they're able to enjoy some time out in the pasture. It does look like Studman is still trying to infiltrate the bigger herd, but Whiplash is not going to have any part of that. As soon as Studman approaches them with the intent to join them instead of take over, I think they will become integrated quite easily. If this dry lot had more shady areas, then all 6 boys could spend the day in here, but I am definitely going to have to remove Studman and Goose during the day so they're not fighting. Both Goose and Studman, who are still a little bit wary of humans sometimes, have benefited greatly from being handled every day in the barn. It should save me a bit of time not having to clean so much poop out of their stalls, but they'll still get the benefit of me handling them every day, twice a day, bringing them in and out with their new little herd. In the summertime, if I don't spend a lot of one-on-one time with Pete, he does tend to regress a little bit. I'm really hoping that Goose can retain some of his newfound bravery around humans. With the dry lot now looking a lot better, I am going to take you guys around this side of the pasture so you can get an idea of how much space these horses actually do have. One of the reasons that it's been so hard for us to find a good property is that we are really trying hard to find a place that has 20 to 40 acres or more if we could. This property that I lease is 20 acres, but I really only have access to 15 of those acres. The barn, arena, and dry lots pretty much sit on a 5-acre parcel, making the girls and Ziggy's little turnout pasture around 2.5 or 3 acres. Then the boys do have access to one 5-acre pasture, and then there's a little gate, and I decided to just let them eat wherever they want this summer. This back pasture, which is 5 acres, is always the last thing that I let them eat, and it does dry up so quickly that they never get a chance to eat it. The grass is still looking relatively good right
Hey,
now.
boys. Pete. Pete.
In a couple of weeks, all of this grass will be dry and crispy as it starts to heat up.
Come on, Peter.
These boys get turned out somewhere between 5 and whenever it gets dark out every day. They do not get any supplemental feed in the evening. They are just out on pasture. For Studman and Goose, I think the extra movement will far outweigh the amount of grass that they're getting to eat. They will also get put back in the barn during the day to feast on their special grass hay. I will definitely be keeping an eye on them just to make sure they're not getting too much food out here. Since Studman does have his shoes back on, I should be able to get in on some training with him as well. The amount of time that I'm currently spending on house hunting has been way more than last year.
What happened to your face? Oh, Gus. What happened there, buddy?
I finally allowed myself to stop worrying so much about the training I'm putting on these horses.
Peter.
They have everything they need to stay happy and healthy, and I think the additional investment of my time in our property search is going to help us hopefully get a new place by the winter. Every time I go back and look at videos from this winter, I'm reminded how much I really would like to have nicer weather. Sacrificing a part of this summer to make sure that I get this done is going to be small potatoes in the end. We are continuing to see properties come on the market in Montana, and then we are looking in several other states as well. Each day I'm feeling more and more hopeful that we will get to our goal this fall and have a new place to move the horses for the winter. If you guys want to help, I would really appreciate some good vibes out into the universe to make this happen. Pretty soon here, I am going to have to devote a large chunk of time into mitigating this weed situation. I did manage to clean out the entire round pen earlier today, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a drag so it will be ready when I need to get the horses worked in here. It looks like the boys are really starting to settle in and they aren't having any more fights between them. With big changes hopefully on the horizon, I am feeling pretty satisfied with where all the horses are at, even though I really haven't done too much this summer.
Hey, Goosey. Hey, Goose. Hey, buddy. You two boys want your special dinner? Sorry. Hey, Goosey. Come on, boys.
Before I finish up for the evening, I am going to check on all of the boys to make sure they didn't get any cuts or scrapes on them while they were playing around this evening. For the most part, it looks like all of these boys are going to escape the evening's festivities unscathed.
Hey, Goose.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.